Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Connect podcast. Today we have Stephen Franks from Higher Purpose Accounting on. Hi, Stephen. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Brooke. Thank you for inviting me along.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started with Higher Purpose Accounting, your background, anything you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So basically, my background's in working in commerce, public not-for-profit organisations, both large and small, over the years. So I've been doing that for about 25 years, helping businesses, in particular around not just the finances, but their systems and processes, and getting them to understand what was going on as well. And then probably about 7 years ago, I decided that what I was doing there, I could actually help more people if I was doing it with small businesses and other businesses who, um, having that same sort of challenge, but they're not, they don't have somebody internally to do it. So I set myself up as a consultant in that respect and started focusing on doing that. And so what I do is basically help take that frustration away, help them establish financial and administrative management within their business. So looking at what's going on, what they've got set in place around their processes, what's documented, identifying where there's some challenges and things in that respect, and basically looking at creating a roadmap to financial peace of mind by identifying what activities need to be done and what we need to do about it and who's going to do it.
Awesome.
I, yeah, and I also um, have written an Amazon best-selling book, How the NDIS Can Work for You, because a lot of my clients are in the NDIS space as well as the care space, the for-purpose space. And I also have some online courses to teach financial basics as well as a financial fitness group program.
Wow, that's awesome. So, you're kind of around the clock all the time.
Yeah, and I'm a bit different to your traditional sort of tax compliance type accountants. It's more about working on your business rather than just meeting compliance deadlines and paying taxes and staying out of jail, really.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
Oh yeah, exactly.
How was the transition from corporate to going out on your own?
It was an interesting one. So really, I was just needing to adapt to the situation. So to really understand clearly what um, what was needed by people out there, and then being able to set myself up and set the systems in my business up in a way that would support that, serve that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you talk about NDIS and fitness. How do you work together with those two different industries?
Okay. So basically, yeah. So the idea is creating a fitness program around it. So not necessarily working with fitness providers, although there are allied health professions who I do work with. Um, but it was really in that health space, people understand about care and doing things that are going to help you. So I thought, well, I can use that as a framework, and then be able to create a group that will enable people who are in that NDIS, allied health care space um, sectors to be able to understand the fundamentals about finances and then put things in place that they can use regularly and consistently so that they can stay on top of it and not get in any trouble.
Yeah, no, that's great. And those are two industries that, help people. So I really like that. Um, a lot of people always ask about cash flow strategies. So is there anything and advice that you can give to companies, especially SMEs, around end of financial year?
Yeah, well, first thing is really just to understand that it's important to manage your cash. And so, cash flow is the lifeblood of any business. So, really, we just need to know where is the cash coming in, where's it going out. Now, so understanding what are our services that we're providing, what are we generating, what are the expenses that are related to it, and what are your administrative services of running, costs of running your business as well. So, focusing on those particular things. And one of the things I get people to do is to actually create a cash flow forecast. So it's really like, it's kind of like a budget, but what it does is it takes into account the timing of the cash coming into and out of your business. And so you might set one up for a year and split it down, by months, but each week you're just tracking what's going on so that you understand that the cash is coming in, and it also helps you to see into the future, when you might have a cash crisis or where there's an opportunity to grow your business or something like that. And yeah, and that kind of helps most businesses to sort of stay in a spot where they're not struggling.
Yeah, and that's very important. And a lot of people struggle with their finances, especially when it comes to business. That's not a lot of people's strong points. That's why they hire consultants like you. Um,
Yes,
can you tell us some of the main struggles that you've come across, especially in NDIS space?
yes. So I would say really, well, first is definitely the cash, right? The knowing how to manage their cash, and putting cash aside for the obligations. So yes, the money might be coming in, but once it comes in, where is it going? So, you've got things like taxes, you've got wages, you've got superannuation, all of those kind of things that all need to happen, as well as the general running the business type expenses. So managing those particular things is really important. Um,
Mm,
it's also too making it important around their finances. I think is important. That it is important. It's not something you worry about at the end of every quarter. You
right.
need to be on top of it every week. You need to know what's going on because if you leave it that long, things can go wrong very quickly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but as you go into the end of the financial year, you really need to be sort of focusing on what is it you need to do to achieve what you were aiming to do by the end of the year. What are those compliance related things that you need to have done? But and also too, what are you planning for the new year? And
Right.
getting things in place around those and having checklists and things to make sure that they're happening and you know who's doing them.
Yeah, no, definitely. So are there any tips for like small businesses that you would give if they're financial year?
So one thing is, yeah, review all your expenses. Make sure that that the expenses that you've got. Like a lot of people might have subscriptions and things like that. Do you still need those at the end of the financial year? You may not be using them, or you've got something else that's covering part of that off. So review those kind of things. Uh, Also too, yeah, looking to see if people have still, what is outstanding in terms of people paying you. So a lot of people are setting stuff up and might be sending out invoices, but are they following up that the payment is actually happening? And,
Right.
and in the NDIS space in particular, it can be there's not just invoicing, there's claiming as well. So things might be being submitted and then they're being rejected. So they've got to be resubmitted. So having a process in place around that and make sure that they get done and then it's going to get paid hopefully before the end of the financial year as well.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So you talked about that you have an online course to teach like small businesses about finances and stuff. Can you dive in a little bit more about that?
Yes. So yes, I have several of them. So they're basically looking at what I see as the financial fundamentals. So things like developing good financial habits, uh, business planning, looking at budgeting and cash flow, and setting those things up, understanding your numbers. So understanding what is in your reports, which reports to run, and what things. So then from that you can make good decisions because you can see what's driving the incomes and the expenses and that within your business. And I also have one course that I created that is specifically for the NDIS space as well, which takes into account some of the aspects from some of the others, plus other things that are dedicated to the NDIS space.
No, that makes total sense. So, with your clients, do you work closely with them or do you kind of give them homework, so to say? Because I know some accountants are a little bit hands off. They prefer that the client to do like their homework before they come back to you. How is your higher purpose set up?
Yeah, so yeah, it's more hands-on. So it's basically we do an assessment, work out what it is they need to do, and then I put together like a 90-day plan for them. And then we work out what we're going to do each week. And depending on the particular person, we either have a weekly or fortnightly catch up and we see how we're going with things. And also too, I kind of help guide them with particular things. So, they if they're using something like a finance risk matrix, for example, which is, people are going to go, what's that kind of thing?
Yeah.
They're going to need somebody to actually explain through what those particular things are and how you go about filling that out and working through it. So, yeah,
So, what made you get into the NDIS space? Was there a particular event or you just had an interest in it always?
I found my leads were coming from people who were working generally in that space.
Okay.
Yeah, it sort of was people who were reaching out to me or people who were being referred to me were working in that space, and pretty much all of them were from a non-financial background. They'd come from working in an organization, they'd gotten the business going, and they might be, anywhere from 1 to 3 years into their business. And
Okay.
now they needed more than just a traditional tax accountant or a bookkeeper to support them because they needed to make decisions. They needed to understand, you know, do they buy a particular asset? Do they um, bring people on, or do they need to, get particular softwares and things that might feed into their accounting system that will support what it is they're doing?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you talked about software, and I know AI is a big topic. What are your thoughts on it?
I think AI is something that certainly can help people. Um, but yeah, you've just got to be careful about what it is you're doing. So if you're jumping into GPT and just taking what it says for gospel, you
Yeah,
might get yourself into trouble. Um, it's a bit of a process that you need to work through, and you've just got to utilize it in the way it was intended to support you, not to be instead of you.
yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I feel like a lot of people now are just copy paste, and it thinks it can solve all your problems, but yet you have to. It's to help you. It's like your little assistant, so to say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you've got to have a system. You've got to understand how to talk to it to get the
Right.
right sort of results.
Yeah, no, definitely. Um, so you know how we were talking about the end of the year cash flows? Um, what would be a recommendation for a company in the NDIS space? Like, what should they focus on? How much money should do you recommend like putting aside each month or like quarterly for tax purposes and a percentage, or is it like how do you go about that?
Yeah, so well, in terms of one of the things I use is like I use bank account separation with people. So
Okay.
I get them to work out. So in terms of what you're putting aside is, okay, you're going to know what your pay as you go withholding, for example, is because when you do your payroll, right? So you'll know what that is. You'll know what your superannuation is because that's based upon that. Um, and then in terms of your taxes, then you can put away a certain percentage around for your business taxes. And then, um, but also too, putting aside a percentage around what you want to be your surplus or profit um,
Mhm.
into a separate account and then managing the remaining expenses based upon that, because then it's going to make you be more careful with what you spend your money on.
Oh, 100%. And if you can give businesses a piece of advice before we part ways, what would it be?
That don't fear your finances. It's
Love it.
necessary. It's necessary thing you need to do. So just be comfortable with them, but get the assistance that you need to be able to do what you need to do, so that you can feel comfortable and confident with your finances, and
Yeah,
that things are
that's
covered.
so true. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Well, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, Stephen, where can they contact you?
Okay. Well, they can contact me via my website, so www.higherpurposeaccounting.com.au. Um, Also, too, at the moment, I have a 7 top strategies to improve your cash flow in 7 days download that they can download. So I can share the link with you and
That'd be
the
awesome.
audience.
Yeah,
And yeah, and also too, I can share a link if you want to have a call with me directly. I've got a link there to do that.
perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And yeah, I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Brooke. It's been a pleasure to do so.